So why does a person feel anxious? Buddhism explains anxiety very well. I particularly like the Buddhist explanation of what anxiety is. Anxiety is a resistance to gratuitousness. We all know about gratuitousness, right? We all believe in impermanence, that things in this world are beyond your control. There will always be a society that suddenly happens. Gratuitousness will happen. But when you know that gratuitousness will happen, and you keep resisting gratuitousness in your heart, you say that this thing better not happen, or better not happen to me, right? At this time, your anxiety will appear. Of course, this is the Buddhist explanation. What is the psychological explanation? It says that anxiety is a brain dysfunction. Anxiety is a condition in which the brain malfunctions and causes a person to experience intense feelings of fear, worry, and unease. Simply put, anxiety is a powerful emotional state that can occur when individuals are confronted with uncertainty and unable to anticipate what might happen next. This can lead to feelings of insecurity and doubt about the decisions they make, which in turn can exacerbate their anxiety. Well, in fact, if you young people use your words, it is entanglement, right? Severe entanglement is anxiety. Should I do this or not? Should I do it this way or that way, right? When I graduate, should I go to graduate school or work? Well, I hear many little girls worrying about this. I tell them that you should go to graduate school. If you want to study, then study. If you want to work, then work. But if I work, I will lose the opportunity to study for a master's degree. Then I will not be able to work. Because you always want to say, what if there is something different, right? This is a resistance to gratuitousness. In fact, from the perspective of Buddhism, your karma has already determined what you will do. So as long as you live every day seriously, the next thing will happen. You will choose to go to work or you will choose to go to graduate school, which are both the best choices. There is no if, because there are no parallel lines in life. Life is a one-way street, right? Of course, my way of saying this is not valid for ordinary parents and children, because this is the Buddhist teaching. Let's go back to this book. From a psychological point of view, it is said that it actually comes from the unknown of uncertain situations, right? So anxiety will arise at this time. What are some ways to reduce children's anxiety? We say that we must first limit your own worries and imaginations. Here are a few ways of thinking I would like to recommend to you. The first way of thinking is that what you think may not happen. This is very important. There is a psychology experiment that goes something like this. They put a big box there and asked everyone to write down the thing they are most worried about and put it in the box. You can do this in your company. Put a box in your company and write down all the things you are most worried about and put them in the box. Then, within 2 weeks, write down the thing you are most worried about within 2 weeks. Then, after 2 weeks, open the box and look at the results. What do you find? Most of the things people are worried about did not happen. Most. Right? So anxiety comes from worrying, and you have to know one thing first. That is, what you worry about may not necessarily happen. Can you accept this principle? This is the first way of thinking we talked about, and I hope everyone knows this. And the second thing is that what you think may not be the fact. Right? Where does pain come from? There is a very important principle in leadership called the ladder of reasoning. Pain comes from reasoning. The meaning of a person who worries over nothing is that many troubles are created by your imagination. For example, last year you looked at me with such a look that I thought was wrong. You had a problem with me. You were dissatisfied, right? You see, when someone looked at you with a look, maybe his eyes were just blurry at the time, right? His eyes were uncomfortable because of the wind, and then you wrote to me, what do you mean, right? So humans are particularly good at imagining, and many of the contradictions people have are created by imagination. Maybe you two went out to eat without inviting me, and I thought you two teamed up to mess with me, right? Because people like to fantasize too much. So why do rumors stop at wise people? It is because wise people do not need to reason. When a wise man does not reason about this thing being placed here, he reduces a lot of troubles. In the same way, this is the second thing I said. Thinking is not the fact. That's just what you think. You have to be able to stop and say, this is just what I think. This is just my guess, but it may not be true. So the first thing we said is that what you think may not happen. The second thing is that what you think is not the fact. right? There is also something called the way you think determines your feelings. This is the ABC model we talked about in the lesson on stress management. Do you remember we talked about it in the book on stress management, right? The occurrence of an event in the ABC model does not necessarily lead to an increase in your stress. What is the gap between the occurrence of an event and the increase in stress? Isolate your way of thinking. How do you view this matter? For example, if you get a bad grade on an exam, does it necessarily mean you are under a lot of pressure? Not necessarily. It depends on how you look at it, right? Therefore, you will find that many of us ordinary people, when our values are unstable or incorrect, will make a small pain very big. Then the fourth way of thinking is to fight against all or nothing. We ordinary people are prone to all or nothing attitudes in life. Being particularly unhappy about something is called all or nothing. In fact, such situations rarely occur in life. There are very few people who fully accept a person, and there are also very few people who fully deny a person, right? The same thing, just this one thing happens. It may not be completely good news, or it may not be completely bad news. Things are not certain, right? So if you can solve the all or nothing problem, you will reach a state of moderation, right? You will know how to deal with whatever happens in your daily life. This is called staying positive, right? So you will find that all our books are connected together. All the books together have the same core good things. Whether foreigners use psychology to express it, or Eastern people use Buddhism to express it, the core things are the same, right? Therefore, we say that with these ideas to arm us and arm our minds, you can then take the next step to fight anxiety, right?